Nahdar Vebb was a Mon Calamari male who hailed from the planet Mon Cala. He became a Padawan of the Jedi Order and was trained as a Jedi by Kit Fisto, an Autolan Jedi Master. During a mission to Galgus with Fisto and Jedi Master Mace Windu, Vebb killed a creature after it ate several villagers and tried to eat Windu. However, he was rebuked by Fisto and Windu for not finding a peaceful way forward. Vebb, Fisto and Windu were then sent on a diplomatic mission to Tordis to discuss Exil Research Station's exploration into ancient ruins. Fisto was later called elsewhere because of his service in the Clone Wars, a galaxy-wide conflict between the Galactic Republic and Confederacy of Independent Systems that began in 22 BBY. Without his master to guide him, Vebb was forced to complete his training on his own. Vebb was among the many Jedi during the Clone Wars who passed to knighthood sooner than he ideally would have. He became an accomplished force healer and tended to the wounded of the Republic Army, and he also led troops into battle, thinking that he could lead them just as well as a more experienced Jedi could. Shortly after Nahdar Vebb completed his trials, in 21 BBY, the Republic had taken Separatist leader Newt Gunray into custody, but with the help of Separatist leader Count Dooku, Gunray was able to escape. Vebb and Fisto had both tracked Gunray to the moon Vasek 3 in the Vasek system. When Fisto was alerted by Jedi Master Luminaru Unduli that Vebb had also gone to the system, he remarked that it would be good to see him again. When Fisto arrived on Vasek 3, Vebb was already there, having landed in a fully armed new-class shuttle. Fisto congratulated Vebb on completing the trials and offered his apologies that he had not been there. Vebb admitted that he indeed missed his master but was also honored to finally serve beside Fisto as a Jedi Knight. Clone Commander Phil then located the entrance. Vebb used the Force to dissipate the fog that was covering it. Although Vebb and the clones were eager to cut open the door using a lightsaber and a thermal detonator, respectively, Fisto took a second look and was able to make the doors swing open with merely the push of a button. The group entered, with Fisto and Vebb leading. As they progressed down a hall, Fisto sensed that something was there, though the clones' scanners were negative. A loud growl then indicated that the sensors were inaccurate. At that point, the group heard Gunray, who instructed a group of B1 series battle droids to stay on guard as the Jedi walked in. Fisto and Vebb smiled in anticipation of what was about to happen. The pair took down the battle droids easily, although Vebb attacked one of the droids even after it had been disabled. Fisto scolded him for the action. Vebb apologized for getting carried away. They walked up to the chair from which Gunnar's voice was sounding, and Vebb used the Force to swivel it toward them, revealing a mere hologram. Gunnar called them fools, warning them that coming to the fortress would mean their doom. Vebb and Fisto realized that the tracking beacon should have given away the fact that it was all a ruse. The holoprojector that had shown Gunnar, which had turned off, lit up blue once again, this time with Count Dooku. The Count told them that while Gunnar would not be available for capture, he could offer them an alternative prize. He then turned off his hologram, leaving the chair beeping with a flashing red light. Intrigued, Vebb pushed a button on the chair, which opened a tall set of doors. As they walked down the following hallway, they passed by statues of warriors and found a large room filled with heads of the cyborg General Grievous, revealing that they were in his lair. Above the planet, Grievous arrived in his starfighter. At the same time, Vebb found several Padawan braids in a glass case, and reasoned that they must have been trophies that Grievous had taken from Jedi he had killed. Speculating about who the trap was for, Fisto did not think it made sense for Dooku to set a trap for his best general, and Vebb considered whether they were the bait or if Grievous was. Fisto received a message from a clone he had told to stay with the ship that a starfighter that matched Grievous's was headed their way. Vebb was excited by the prospect of capturing Grievous, but Fisto reminded him and the clone not to underestimate the general. Grievous landed his starfighter in his lair's hangar and was surprised by the absence of his guards. The Jedi and clones then ambushed him, so he ignited his 4 lightsabers and began to fight Vebb and Fisto. They exchanged blows, and Fisto instructed the clones to launch their cables in an attempt to immobilize Grievous. Vebb and Fisto continued to strike him with their lightsabers, trying to make sure that he would not get an opportunity to cut the lines. Fisto sliced Grievous in half at his midsection, but the cyborg was able to use his many limbs to crawl away. Vebb chased after Grievous, threatening to destroy him. With the help of Fisto, Vebb was able to knock away one of Grievous's lightsabers. Grievous jumped away and grabbed one of the clone troopers to use as a shield. He threw the trooper at Vebb and knocked him to the ground. He then began to run away, using rungs on the ceiling to move quickly above the floor. Vebb called for them to cut him off, although as they chased after him, he turned around and attacked two clone troopers, disabling them. He then opened a secret door, went through it, and closed it behind him, leaving the remaining two clones and the Jedi trapped. Much to Fisto's disapproval, Vebb complained that he could have taken Grievous had the clones not gotten in his way. As Vebb and Fisto tended to the clones, Vebb asked permission from Fisto to go after Grievous himself, believing he was ready. Fisto told him that although he was no longer a Padawan, it did not necessarily mean he was ready to take on General Grievous. As Grievous watched via hologram, Fisto proclaimed that it was time they retreated, and they ran away. However, Grievous used his array of buttons to close the doors that the group would have used, and Fisto realized that a fight would be inevitable. Commander Phil told the clones who had not entered the lair to call the fleet for reinforcements. Unbeknownst to the clones, they were being watched by IG-100 Magna Guards, one of whom destroyed their shuttle. Fisto's astromech droid R6H5 then called up the Jedi Master via conlink, informing him that his interceptor was under attack by Magna Guards. Fisto told R6 to get away, which he successfully did, but he lost contact with Fisto. Grievous then appeared to the group via hologram, informing them that they had run out of time. Vebb apprehensively told Fisto that he had a bad feeling about the situation. It was then that the floor fell out from under them. The Jedi were able to leap to safe ground, but both clones fell in the pit. While one of the troopers immediately perished, Commander Phil used a cable on his blaster to cling to the wall. Vebb quickly ran to help him get back out and, with Fisto's help, was able to do so. The Jedi sat down to regain their breath. Fisto, who at this point surmised they were being watched by Grievous, told him that they were unimpressed with his home. Grievous told the group through the speaker that they would still provide support for him. Having turned off the channel to the visitors, he told his pet Rugwort Gore that it was time to entertain his guests. Vebb, Fisto, and Phil stood on guard with their weapons drawn. Just as Fisto warned that there could be things worse than Grievous there, a large door opened to reveal Gore, who roared at them as Phil blasted away to no avail. Vebb launched himself at the Rugwort and stabbed him in his back, although this only intensified Gore's rage. He swung his tail around, knocking down Phil and nearly Fisto, who was able to duck. Gore then picked up Phil with his tail and swatted Vebb away when he tried to help rescue him. Fisto struck Gore's face with his lightsaber, but he continued to hold Phil and even smashed him on the ground. Vebb sliced off a part of Gore's tail in order to release the commander. Fisto then cut off his two front limbs and, after the Rugwort fell to the ground, impaled his neck and killed him. However, it was not enough to save Phil, who had died. Vebb angrily held Phil in his arms and vowed that he would destroy Grievous for Phil's death. Fisto sympathized with Vebb's pain but reminded him that revenge was not the Jedi way. Vebb did not hear Fisto and insisted that the rules had changed due to the war. Fisto suggested that it was instead Vebb who had changed. The pair hid next to a wall as Grievous walked by with his Magna Guards and observed as he entered the code to lock a door. Vebb realized that Fisto had been right and that the exit led to the control room. However, they were being watched by Grievous's medical droid, EV-40, who quickly alerted Grievous to their presence. Fisto ordered Vebb to hurry inside, but the Mon Calamari insisted that Fisto should go and that he could hold off Grievous himself. While they argued, FA40 closed the door in between the two Jedi, trapping Fisto in the control room and Vebb out of it. Vebb ignited his lightsaber and eagerly dealt with 3 Magna Guards with ease, using the Force as well as his lightsaber to take them down. However, down the hall was Grievous along with 2 more Magna Guards. He taunted Vebb about the whereabouts of his master, and Vebb shot back that he would find out soon. The two began to duel, with Grievous using 2 lightsabers against Vebb's 1. Fisto advanced towards FA40, who was watching the bout via an array of view screens. He decapitated the droid and then turned his attention to the duel. Grievous and Vebb locked lightsabers, and as they struggled to gain ground, Grievous used his third arm to draw a DC-17 hand blaster and fire 3 shots through Vebb's abdomen. Vebb groaned as his body collapsed to the ground. Fisto could only watch, falling backward into the chair in sadness.